I'm okay with the ribbons. I think that was clever.
I did like the ribbons. I like the ribbons a lot. I just wanted it to be ribbons bad, scary, you know?
I actually was going to say the same thing, you know? I think ribbons can be done in a good way. I think we needed to introduce the ribbons at first as a form of blood, as we did in the movie. But then when we got to, like, cutting somebody's head off, I think we should have had a gushing of ribbons.
Which we did.
We had a bit of ribbons, but I feel like we could have done it a little bit.
You wanted more like how Greg's death was, with the pink streamers.
Right, I suppose so. I wanted a little bit more seriousness to the death, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think also then if some of the other actors had leaned into the horror element, the being afraid of what was going on, I think there's a darker tone you could have taken with the movie that actually might have made it better.
Yeah. I already found the Minotaur to be a bit of an intimidating antagonist within the story. I would have preferred a little bit more of that, to have more of him stalking them, attacking them, being more of a menace to the party.
I agree. We see the Minotaur's axe in a wall at one point, and I like that, but I think we could have done a lot more with the Minotaur's axe and had him more directly, physically confronting them. And I'm certain that the Minotaur's axe wouldn't have broken apart or anything like that because it was made out of cardboard. It definitely would have held up.
No, it would have been super strong.
It would have been super strong and held up the whole time. And
Right.
that, I'm sure, had nothing to do with the decision not to have the axe more physically implemented.
The movie goes out of its way to explain that cardboard works differently on the inside than it does on the outside.
It does, yeah. I don't think, though, that there's much to fix about this flick.
No, not really.
Right.
Move on?
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on because, honestly, this is a pretty great movie. I mean, it fits into our categories, mostly because I'm going to do any movie I feel like doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then my only real rule, like I've said before for the podcast, is the movies are supposed to be a movie that you could do for a bad movie night. And I do feel like Dave Made a Maze fits within that category. It's low budget. It's a film festival movie. Not just a film festival movie. I think it's great that it's a slam dance movie because it's a kind of counterculture festival. You know, it's like I've always said, like, hey, what kind of movies do we do, Raoul?
Whatever we want!
So in a lot of ways, Dave really does fit into our category. And honestly, having delved into this movie, it's amazing how many things just came together to make this the masterpiece it is instead of a disaster. So many pieces of the movie that are just so important to it actually functioning as a complete narrative were last minute, were ad hoc, were done on the fly, were ad-libbed. And you don't get any of that, I feel, watching the movie.
No, you really don't. Watching the movie as is, you would expect the film to be shot in like a giant warehouse, that they could just decorate the entire place with cardboard, but it's just 2 small studio rooms.
I know, and the fact that they're really just shooting in one and then tearing another one down or building another one.
And it's a little sad that none of this could have been preserved, like the way a lot of big movie sets are.
That is kind of a tragedy with this one. There was so much art.
Right. That it was just really just temporary. I mean, hopefully they kept the giant head.
I think they kept the Minotaur and Bryn's face.
The Bryn face, too. Bryn was like a really good piece of work.
Oh my gosh.
Probably my favorite piece of artwork in the movie.
Right. I mean, we'll go ahead and move past the Fix This Flick segment, you know. Before we get into individual performances, because this movie is a little bit different, we wanted to talk about our favorite rooms. Honestly, our favorite scenes.
Why don't you go ahead, Alan?
You know, there's a lot of great scenes in this movie. Really, though, right off the bat, I was pretty amazed with the hallway that's decorated with all of the playing cards.
Yeah.
I really like the aesthetic, and they have the kind of gateway of hanging playing cards, which is neat. And you kind of think that, okay, I know what we're doing here. We have this cardboard set and everything like that. And and then they just like casually continue walking down this hallway and they just walk past these completely ornate king and queen inlays of cardboard that are made into the walls that you only see for like a fraction of a second and then they're gone. And it's like, oh no, that's the level of detail we're actually going to have in the cardboard work in this movie. So right off the bat, I really loved the entire hallway and I loved the king and queen inlay.
You know, I think you were playing a video game the first time I watched this movie, and I think this is actually the scene that pulled your attention from your game, and then I think you were invested in the movie for the rest of the movie.
Well, right after they go through that hallway, it's also one of my next favorite rooms, which is the giant keyboard room or the giant keyboard hallway. And I just felt like using the black keys as like subliminal spaces that they can just walk through that just aren't there was the cleverest thing.
It also plays music or a chord every time they walk through it.
I know there's so many specific little details that are in this movie. It's really amazing. You can see why they made Dave Made a Minute.
Right, no doubt. And speaking of favorite rooms, the room next after this one is actually one of my favorite rooms, which is the trash compactor room, where there's all the giant origami cranes that are all sentient and trying to eat people. And then it also has the giant cardboard head that I was talking about earlier. I really like that room. There's not much going on in that room, but it's a real big, grand art set piece that I really enjoy looking at. But besides that, my favorite room is actually the illusion room. Right after they reunite with Dave and he's running them through the maze, they stumble into this one room where nothing is as it seems. And the longer they're in the room, they're just peeling the room apart. All kinds of weird stuff is going on. And I feel like that condenses everything about Dave Made a Maze into one small moment. Like, just nothing is as it seems. It's weird, it's quirky, but it's harmless.
Okay, so favorite room. What about your favorite scene, Nohea?
Favorite scene. My favorite scene is honestly the very ending with the chrysalis. It's another grand little art piece that I really enjoyed looking at, and I feel like it condenses the entire movie down into this small scene where you're having the danger and the fantasy and the grand scheme of all things just kind of meshing together in this small 5-minute window where he's trying to destroy the maze. I really like that scene.
It's a pretty amazing scene, and I think the chrysalis and the different alterations that it goes through while it's spinning is really intriguing. I think it's really awesome.
And with especially with the cardman doing the knife stabbing thing through, and then you see the Minotaur on the bottom. I mean, I don't know. I just liked a lot of that little stuff.
My favorite scene was definitely the scene in the kitchen when Annie and Dave kind of fade away.
Yeah.
And it seems like for a second they might just be going into a flashback. But then it becomes very apparent that they're not. You see them at their kitchen, and they're opposed to one another, talking about what Dave's going to be doing that day. And Annie's asking him if he wants coffee, and no, he doesn't want coffee. And it's this whole thing where we switch between these different transitions of, things that Dave is doing while he's not doing work, and the conflict that that's creating within their relationship, and the dynamic that that's kind of establishing also within the relationship. And as we're doing this, the lighting's changing in the room, and Dave and Annie are ripping off costumes, revealing new costumes. All of these costumes, mind you, are made out of tissue paper and cardboard. It's absurd, because at first you won't notice that at all. You won't even notice.
Until they just pull it off. And
you're like, oh, that was actually just tissue paper. And it's an amazing little scenelet. So that's probably my favorite scene.
I really like that scene, too. One of my favorite parts.
So what's your least favorite scene, Nohea?
Well, I think my least favorite scenes are kind of interspersed. I don't really like the cutaways to the extra characters.
I don't care for Leonard.
Leonard's the homeless guy, right?
Leonard's not the homeless guy.
No. He's does he fall? He goes into he's like the last one to go in, right?
Yes, he's the last one to go into the maze, and...
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of him either, because they always cut back to him, and it's like, he's not doing anything interesting. He's just walking along, talking...
Bumbling through the maze, almost getting out of the maze, and then eventually unceremoniously dying right next to the end of the movie.
Right.
And pretty insignificant to me, and
yeah,
I didn't really care for Leonard too much. I think you could have done well without a lot of those scenes.
Right.
Other than that,
Leonard and the homeless character could have been one character.
Right. Other than that, I wouldn't even change the puppet scene.
The puppet scene I loved.
Yeah, the paper bag puppets that were used to...
I actually thought that was on point with the movie.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was fantastic. It made a lot of sense, and watching it the first time, did you realize that was something that they had used? Did it seem in
as
any
a filler? No,
yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it doesn't come off as a filler.
It fits so perfectly well.
And that's one of the things with Dave Made a Maze, is it has so many near misses that just really all work out in the end. It's a really serendipitous piece, I feel.
Yeah, it was really something special.
Yeah, it's a pretty fantastic movie.
Now that we have rooms and scenes out of the way, why don't we talk about some individual performances? And first up, we have Mira Rohit Kumbani.
As Annie, Dave's girlfriend.
Yeah, she's great. One of the best performances of the movie, honestly.
I absolutely agree. I think she's one of the best performances of the movie. She sells the relationship. Both her and Nick Toon sell the relationship so well. Now, you had told me she used to be part of Colchima.
Yeah, she was part of College Humor. That's immediately where I recognized her from.
I used to watch a lot of College Humor. I didn't even really place her from that.
She was one of my faves.
She stands out in this.
Yeah.
She really does. And honestly, her and Nicktoons sell the dynamic of their relationship so well.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah, that you just instantly get where they're coming from. And speaking of Nicktoon, Nicktoon's fantastic as well.
Yeah, he did a great job. Much better than his performance in Bad Johnson.
I haven't seen Bad Johnson, actually.
You don't really want to.
Who does Nicktoon play?
He plays Kamigande's penis.
Ooh, that's...
Penis come to life. So Kamigande's running around the movie without a dick. It's all flat down there, because his dick ran away, and it became a human. And it's Nicktoon.
Oh, gosh. Nicktoon's also in the new Venom movie.
Yeah, Beardo at bar.
Yeah, he is the barely credited extra at the bar.
Right? Glorified extra.
Which, honestly, I wish he would have been Venom. I think he could have done Venom.
Right? Next up, we have Adam Bush as Gordon.
I like Gordon.
Yeah.
I think Adam Bush does well as him. I think the dynamic between Gordon and Dave is instantly recognizable.
Yeah. They seem like they've been friends for a really, really long time.
Even though they just met and didn't even know each other at the time of production of the movie.
Exactly.
Which is a lot of fun. The whole, where's my beard at?
Right.
It's just, again, really well done and a lot of fun. I'm not sure that he's my favorite of the actors of the main group, but he's pretty good.
He's alright. No, he's pretty good.
He's alright.
No, he's better than alright. He's good.
He does have that shirt, and I like the shirt.
And where's that beard at?
And where is that beard at? It's on his face, so come on, let's give some credit to where the beard is at.
The beard elevates the status.
The beard does elevate the status.
So he is pretty great.
Yeah, he is. Because that's a pretty great beard.
Yep, pretty great beard.
It's not an average beard, it's a great beard.
Yep.
And that makes him pretty great himself.
Yes.
And, I mean, that's when we're probably coming around to, like, James Urbaniak as Harry.
Right.
Who's just a little bit lower, I think, on our spectrum.
Yes, he is. And it's not his fault. It's his character.
It's his character.
I mean, because Harry's essentially your hent-up director who's just bossing people around throughout the whole movie, and he's just trying to capture the documentary.
I mean, I get his character, and I think it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. He's an important character to have around.
He is. He's definitely not my favorite, though, you know?
Yeah.
I wish he would stand out maybe a little bit more in certain points.
Right.
But other than that, I think he does a pretty good job in the movie, and I do enjoy what his character adds to the movie as a whole.
Right. And also, watching him, I had the idea that what if this movie was intended to be a found footage movie?
Right.
Like, it well could have. And I'm glad that it isn't.
I am glad that it isn't, too. I'm glad we focus so much on Dave and Annie. Again, Miruhi Kambani and Nicktoon really sell those characters so well. Yeah. And by the time we're getting into the subliminal spaces and the possible dreamscapes where they're just tearing off costumes, I think that we've gotten so involved with those two characters that is really what the movie has become about.
And next up we have one of your little favorites, Frank the Tank, Frank Cady.
Yeah. Now, I think Frank's so much fun because he really wasn't supposed to be a major character, and he just kind of...
He does a lot with what little he's given.
He does. I think Frank the Boom Mic Operator is a lot of fun. He really sells a lot of the dynamic of the maze and the danger, and that's both with his facial acting and the actual...
Physical acting, right?
And physical, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty great, and I think he adds a lot. What do you think about Bryn?
I love Bryn.
Bryn
was my second favorite after Nick. Bryn, as in Stephanie Allen, as Bryn. She was great. I loved her. I'm pretty sure she played the evil cardboard version of Bryn, and if she did, she did great as the evil Bryn too.
Yeah, I thought the ability to switch to the evil Bryn, the beastly Bryn, as I call her.
Beastly Bryn.
That character is one of the best characters, I think, in the entire movie.
Alright, Alan, on a good scale, how would you rate this movie?
On a good scale, this movie's fantastic. Honestly, it's a great movie. It's probably a 9 out of 10.
I adored this movie from the second I watched it, so I would rate it a 9.5.
You know, and again, the cardboard artwork just really comes off so fantastically in this movie.
The second that Jane the Barbarian's head falls off and it explodes in ribbons, I was like, Yes. This is all I'm for.
Oh, I know. The blood ribbons and the entire contextualization of all of the gore and papistry.
It fits so perfect.
It fits perfect.